Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2020 City of Fremantle Hungerford Award and Great Big Book Read. We're going to have a fantastic night. I am excited. Woo! My name is Cristy Burne. I'm a Fremantle Press author of Off the Track and To the Lighthouse.
And my name is Kathryn Lefroy, and I'm also a Fremantle Press author and creator of Alex and the Alpacas Save the World. Oh, I think we have some alpaca fans here today. But tonight, we have taken off our author hats and we have put on our fancy clothes because we will be emceeing this fabulous event. I am quite excited. Are you excited?
I am extremely excited.
Are you all excited? Woo! Oh my God, tone it down. This is a serious literary event.
Everybody here is a book lover, so we're going to have a fantastic time. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that today we are meeting on the land of the Whadjuk Noongar people, and I offer my respects to the Noongar elders past and present. We recognise their continuing contribution to the life of the city and their connection, their cultural connection to the land and waters of Wallyup.
And on behalf of the Fremantle Press board and staff, we would like to acknowledge the following distinguished guests. The Honourable Simone McGurk, MLA, State Member for Fremantle, former Premier Alan Carpenter, former Premier Peter Dowding. We've got two former premiers here tonight. The City of Fremantle Mayor Brad Pettitt, elected members of the Fremantle Council, the Fremantle Press Champions of Literature, and all of our sponsors, past and present.
So we are delighted to be meeting here today at the Fremantle Arts Centre. Tonight, as we've said, is a night of celebration. We are going to revel in the company of our debut and established artists, illustrators, writers. We have 17 books to launch tonight. Woo! A lot of talent here in Western Australia. And we have 18 authors who will each be delighted to guide you across to the signing table via the bookstore so they can collect your credit card details and sign the huge pile of books you will all be purchasing.
Massive.
For yourselves, your children, your relatives.
Aunts, uncles. Yeah.
And at the end, you'll feel like you've done a great thing for the culture of our city, and indeed you will have. So pat yourselves on the back and get that credit card out.
And then after a short 27-minute break, we will be announcing the winner of the 30th anniversary City of Fremantle Hungerford Award. So 3 storytellers have been shortlisted for this award: Sharon Booth, Joanna Morrison, and Maria Papas. They've been shortlisted and we cannot wait to welcome them into the Fremantle Press family of local writers and illustrators.
Congratulations!
Yay!
They must be so excited. It's an amazing honour. Now for the exciting bit that I have to do, that you also have to do, which is the housekeeping. So please take your phones out, take a picture of the person sitting next to you, put it on social media, and then put it on silent, so that you're not embarrassed.
Or you could put it on silent before that.
And also keep it out. Take as many photos as you like. Toilets are at the back of the venue to the left. Evacuation is just up that wall.
We've got rappelling gear over the side
Good
somewhere.
luck with that one. So follow the instructions of the Fremantle Arts Centre staff, and please do it in a relaxed manner because it is the rushing that kills you.
Gosh. And on that note, who needs a drink? Because the bar is just over there if you haven't found it already, so grab yourself a drink and settle in.
And if you are hungry, we have Tapas Addict and also box pizza, so some fantastic food to feast on and some literary food for your mind as well. All of the boards and utensils have been cleaned and sanitised, and extra utensils have been provided, including a large knife. If you intend to pick up the knife for the cheese wheel, please use the hand sanitizer which is at the tapas bar.
Okay, so the event tonight is being run in a way for you to all have plenty of room and enjoy yourself. But please be aware of the people next to you, particularly when you are queuing up to buy your massive pile of books. Now, just a note, the books do not need to be socially distanced, so please feel free to stack them on top of each other, as many as you can carry. And if you're struggling, Cristy and I will happily help you take them to your car in a very socially distanced manner.
Now, tonight you have the opportunity to become internet famous. We are streaming live. There will be photographers. If you are in any way afraid of fame or a little bit reticent of being recognised in the street, avoid these people. These are the ones to watch.
Do not go near them. Yep. So our hashtags for tonight are #Fremantle Press, #Hungerford Award. Obviously, you don't need to write hashtag, you just do the hashtag. And our handle is @Fremantle Press. Now, we're also offering 2 $50 book vouchers to the people who do great posts. So, the first book voucher we are offering is the most prolific poster, so get your social media thumbs ready. And the second book voucher that we are offering is a person with the most fun or inventive post featuring Moira Court or Brian Simmons, or both of them, that's fine. You'll find them over near the selfie station.
So, with all of that housekeeping out of the way, it is time to kick off tonight's main program. And to get things started, I would love to welcome the CEO of our beloved Fremantle Press, Jane Fraser, to say a few words. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. It's wonderful to be sharing the Fremantle wind with you all tonight. This year, I would like to talk about what I'm grateful for. I'm grateful to be standing here celebrating the Fremantle Press books and the 2020 City of Fremantle Hungerford Award. I'm grateful that you all showed up to celebrate with us. I'm grateful to live and work in a city which supports the arts, a city which not only provides the $15,000 Hungerford Award money, but also this beautiful venue and the many people who make the City of Fremantle Hungerford Award happen. From the Mayor and the councillors to the librarians and admin staff, from the arts and community managers to the amazing event team at Fremantle Arts Centre. I'm grateful to our state government and the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries for the ongoing long-term support of our efforts to share unique Western Australian stories with the world. And I'm grateful for all the private donations and bequests which make not-for-profit publishing viable. The wonderful foundations that help fund our projects, and the Fremantle Press champions of literature who share our passion for books, and many of them are here tonight. I'm grateful to the booksellers for weathering this latest challenge alongside us, with their usual blend of humour, resilience and creativity. I'm grateful to everyone who bought a Fremantle Press book this year, and I'm grateful in advance to everyone who's going to buy a book tonight. Mostly, I'm grateful for the Fremantle Press team, for the hours devoted by our volunteer board, for the passionate, driven, ambitious band of women I work alongside, for the Hungerford shortlist I'm so happy to be welcoming into the fold this evening, and for our existing Fremantle Press authors and artists. We are so proud of each of you and every book we're presenting tonight. We love you for your gumption, your talent, your integrity, and for bringing so much joy to the art of storytelling. This is your night. Relish it. Pat yourselves on the back. We congratulate you all. Thank you very much. I'd like to invite to the stage the Honourable Simone McGurk, MLA, State Member for Fremantle, to say a few words on behalf of the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's fantastic to be here. Beautiful to be in this fantastic setting here at the Fremantle Arts Centre, and can I thank the City of Fremantle for hosting us. I'm here on behalf of, or in fact, sort of a bit of a trick of the light. I'm actually David Templeman tonight. He's the Arts Minister, and he asked me to represent him. So it's great to be here. And can I particularly acknowledge all of you and Mayor Brad Pettitt, and of course former Premiers Peter Dowding and Alan Carpenter. Both I can see Peter here, and I said hello to Alan earlier, so great to have you here. And can I also acknowledge that we're here on the land of the Whadjuk people here in Wadilla, and pay my very deep respects to their elders past and present. It's amazing to think that there's a 30-year history for the Hungerford Award. It's a proud tradition of supporting authors and outstanding talent. It's a prestigious award for unpublished work of adult fiction, narrative non-fiction or young adult fiction. The cash prize is, I'm sure, very welcome, $15,000 and a publishing contract with Fremantle Press. Gail Jones, Simone Lazaru, Natasha Lester, Donna Mazza, Alice Nelson, Kim Scott, Brenda Walker have all either won the award or been shortlisted for it. The inaugural winner was Brenda Walker in 1990, whose winning novel Crush was published in 2 editions by Fremantle Press and went on to be published in an Italian translation. I haven't read that, but I am going to pile up. Jane, you'll be happy to hear, or I think those energetic MCs that we've got, saying we can pile up the books, I'm going to do that. This year, Brenda was one of the judges for the award, and the award received 66 submissions, so it's a great interest. I'd like to commend each of the West Australian writers who submitted a transcript. It requires particular dedication and ambition to do this, and it's an effort which will often not go recognised or rewarded. When it comes to producing world-class writers, West Australia clearly punches above its weight. And I think you are all here tonight because you are lovers of literature and acknowledge those achievements. Can I particularly thank Fremantle Press for their efforts, not only as the local Member of Parliament, but on behalf of the West Australian Government. The Press has maintained its commitment to publishing West Australian writers and has subsequently played a leading role in launching new literary talents. This commitment has resulted in WA literature reaching audiences throughout the world. And this is nowhere more important now, no time more important than now during the pandemic. It's been, this year has had an incredible impact on the creative industries and events, knowing that those events have been cancelled, jobs have been lost and activity coming to a standstill while we work our way through this pandemic. I'm pleased to report that sales of books, however, and in particular ebooks, have increased significantly over the last 6 months. Through books, readers can escape the stresses in their everyday life by focusing on a world and situations outside of their own. And I know in my life I certainly appreciate that escape. Sometimes more really needing some of those escapes from my day-to-day job. Reading allows us to experience stories, new ideas, and we get to see a fresh perspective on the world. I've lost my place in my speech. That's always fun, isn't it? Can I particularly thank the shortlisted writers who are here this evening. We've got Sharon Booth, Joanna Morrison and Maria Pappas who are here this evening. I'd like to congratulate those 3 shortlisted authors, and I know we're looking forward to hearing from some of the authors this evening. So thank you very much for coming along this evening. Enjoy the night, and I wish you all a very happy 30th Hungerford Award anniversary. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you so much, Jane Fraser and Minister McGurk. Now, pictured here are Moira Court and Brian Simmons, who are 2 of the author illustrators here tonight. However, they are otherwise occupied at the selfie station. So tonight, we encourage you to go over, take your photo with these incredible authors, illustrators, creators, makers of books and stories, and post it on the internet, because if you don't post it, you weren't here. So it's proof that you're
If
actually
it's not
here.
on Instagram, it never happened.
So we are going to kick off by launching these 2 books ourselves. So it's time to get launchy, because you didn't know it was going to be a launchy kind of night, did you? But it is. We're going to get launchy. Because Moira and Brian are too busy being human selfie sticks to launch their own books. It's up to us, Kathryn.
It's up to us. Oh, God. I'm so sorry. Right. So let's go, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's get started. So the first wonderful new release to be launched tonight is At the Dog Park by Moira Court. So we wanted to have some of our canine friends here tonight to do the honours, but we weren't allowed. I don't actually know why they wouldn't let us, but oh, right, okay, that's why. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If we had been allowed to bring dogs, many of the dogs featured in Moira's book would have been here with us tonight. Dogs like Tracey Gibbs's Graham and James Foley's adorable Frankie. Oh, aren't they cute? Aww. And perhaps even Kathryn Lefroy's alpaca. Is there an alpaca there? Perhaps.
Oh, there's an alpaca.
Oh, fancy that, Kathryn. Fancy an alpaca.
Oh, my God. Crazy. Who knew?
So, in fact, many of the dogs featured in this picture book of opposites are West Australian pooches that you might meet in your local dog park.
Or you might meet them in the homes of the, in my humble opinion, best publisher in the world, Kate Sutherland, who is here somewhere tonight, and marketing manager extraordinaire, Claire Miller, who are just 2 of the dog-loving, cat-tolerating Fremantle Press employees.
So this book makes the perfect gift for Christmas. It's much safer and cheaper than buying an actual puppy. So for the birthday kitties in your life or for yourself, grab a copy. And while we're on the topic of dogs, what is one of the favourite places that dogs love to go, Kathryn?
The library.
No, that's alpacas. I love libraries.
Again.
Not the library.
Boutique clothing store.
Not the clothing store. You don't have a dog, do you?
I don't have a dog. But third guess?
Third guess.
The beach.
The beach.
Oh, wow, I got it right.
The beach. A
Turning the
place
page.
where you can take summer weekends and meditative walks and get away from it all. You can explore and get away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life.
It's a place where families, friends and lovers gather to picnic or even to walk the dog.
Or perhaps to watch the sunset. So this book, The Beach by Brian Simmons, is a series of evocative pastel and pencil illustrations that explore the beauty and diversity of our coastline and its role in Australian life.
And when you're not lounging at the beach, you'll need this book to lounge with at home.
And where can we get a copy of this book?
Gosh, I'm so glad you asked that. From Found, of course, which is just down the back there.
And remember to get them autographed. You know where to find
Get
Brian
them
Simmons
signed.
at
The
selfie
authors are
station.
here.
So that is already 2 books down. We have launched 2 of our 17. So,
Well done. Yeah. All right. And now, yeah, thank you. Thanks.
it's going to be quick, right? They only get 2 minutes. We've taken more time with our 2 books than they
I know. I think they're clapping for the books, though,
Oh, right.
not us. And so you should. But now, get ready, get set, as Fremantle Press authors talk faster than they ever have before in their lives, as we attempt to launch the entire Fremantle Press program in one fell swoop. Authors, you have 2 minutes each. We will be timing. If you go over your 2 minutes, we will quack a duck at you. Oh my gosh. That's horrible. Please don't make us do that. We might squeak a pig at you. Cristy can't take her anywhere. We might bang a saucepan
on
something on air. It's, yeah. We have a digital millennial.
#blessed. OMG.
That's great. Let's do that one. We also might throw a book at you, but we forgot the book prop.
We have a book.
But anyway, any of those things, if you go over your allotted 2 minutes, we will promptly revoke your publishing contract. Do not go over time.
So let's get started. We'll bring James Foley onto the stage to celebrate his paltry attempt to hatch a good egg with his new graphic novel, Chicken Saurus. Come on down.
Thank you, Cristy. Thank you, Kathy. You're stealing all my jokes. Good evening, everyone. My name is James Foley. I've just been making a graphic novel called Chicken Saurus. It's the biggest one I've made so far. It's 200 pages long, and it's basically Jurassic Park with chickens. So, easier than me giving you a spiel is actually just to play a book trailer and narrate it for you in a silly old news-timey voice. Sally Tinker, the world's foremost inventor under 12, is back with a new adventure in invention. Chicken Saurus. Meet Dexter Maelstrom, Sally's arch rival. Marvel at his majestic mutated chicken saws. Try Feathertops, Egosaurus, Velocirooster, Squawk, Pterodactyl, and the Chicken Saurus Rex. Tremble as the chicken saws break free. Is Dexter hatch this poultry plot, or is somebody else the bad egg? Chicken Saurus, the new graphic novel, available September 29, 2020. Also available from other books. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I'm very proud of this book. We've also had some early reviews come in, so I'm just going to read some. They're actually from Celebrity Chickens, so everything it's cracked up to be, Jennifer Lopez. Worth crossing the road for, Wingo Star. The author has spared no expense, John Hammond-Eggs. That's a deep Jurassic Park cut there. Had me so excited I nearly flipped out, Barack Obama. And exceeded my wildest expectations, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So it's been great to get some good reviews. Thank you to the team at Fremantle Press. Give them a round of applause. I've been James Foley. Thank you.
Thank you, James. And because birds of a feather flock together, next up we've got Helen Milroy with her children's picture book, Backyard Birds.
I just think James Foley should do the presentation for everyone. I'm nowhere near as good as that. But thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. It's a bit cold, so I'm not taking my puffy coat off. And isn't it great that we're in Fremantle because you can wear Ugg boots and not be too embarrassed? Anyway, I'm a proud Palku woman from the Pilbara region in WA, but I grew up in Perth, and don't you love this beautiful city that we have to live in, and particularly in Fremantle. I love writing children's books because I like to encourage their creativity and imagination, to instill hope and joy and see them flourish in life. I'm just going to try and move this down a little bit. That's better. I think it's been such an extraordinary year this year, and despite the many challenges, there's also been lots of opportunities for doing things differently. I've really enjoyed my extra time at home and have become much more aware of how to create a sanctuary to allow myself some time for a bit of thought and reflection. And I started to focus on how my little place in the world can also be a home for the many curious creatures that live alongside us. Most of my stories that I write revolve around the relationships that we have with the natural world and how we relate to the birds and animals and creatures that live in our homelands. I think there are many wonderful things that we can learn from animals and how they remind us of our own family and people we know. In my first book that was published by Fremantle Press, I wrote stories about children's characters around using animals and their relationship with the natural world. So in one of the stories, when the son becomes troubled, his best friend the mudlark tries to find out what's wrong and help the son to feel better. And through the use of animal characters in an animate world, we can explore social relationships and the challenges we face and use imagination and endless possibility to create solutions. What a great way to engage kids' imagination. For my new series, Backyard Birds, this is going to be a group of 3 books. The first one's birds, the second one's bugs, and the third one's creatures. So in this series, I explored just who's out in the backyard. And given that we're spending so much time at home now, it's the perfect opportunity to get the kids out there and just see who's actually living around you. What a wonderful place for kids to explore and let their imagination run wild. I absolutely love sitting out in the backyard watching all the birds come and go. Okay, 2 secs. Everything from the kookaburra waiting to catch a lizard, the cockatoo screeching, or the pink and grey galahs looking for a feed. How many birds have you got in the backyard? Get the kids out there and have a look. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Next up, to talk about What Colour is the Sea? A picture book for curious kids asking curious questions. Please welcome Katie Stewart to the stage. You!
Thank you. Thanks to Fremantle Press. March 2020. That's when my dream came true and my first traditionally published book hit the shelves. It was the best of times. It was the worst of timing. But despite COVID, some good things have happened since then. The rights have been sold for it to be published in Turkey, of all places. It was Book of the Week on Kindling's radio. It was shortlisted for the Australian Speech Pathology Book of the Year Awards. It's also been launched 3 times, including tonight. The first launch, arranged by the lovely staff of Northam Library, where I live, included a real live koala, and not a librarian in a onesie, as most people were expecting. The second was a couple of weeks ago at the Awesome Arts Festival, which was indeed an awesome experience, and something I never expected to do. So what's it about? Koala has a question. She asks all her friends, what colour's the sea? They all have a different answer. So she sets off to find out for herself. Over the course of a day and a night, she realises that all her friends are right. But when she goes to take some sea back with her, to show them that what the truth is, she realises that they're all wrong. It's no colour at all. So she finally has her own answer. It's a book about the sea, obviously, and about colour. It's a book about Australian animals. It's about discovery and friendship, but it's also about critical thinking. It encourages children to find things out for themselves rather than simply accepting what they're told. It demonstrates that sometimes there's more than one answer to a question, and that others can have a different opinion to you without necessarily being wrong. I think we know a few adults who should read this book. Thank you.
Saved by the bell.
Fantastic 2 minutes. Thank you. Fantastic. Well done.
Tracey Gibbs' new board book, Let's Count Wildflowers, uses fabulous pop art style illustrations to teach kids about flora and flora while they learn how to count. Eat your heart out, Andy Warhol.
I wish. So my board book, it's a board book for babies. It's a counting book. It travels from 1 to 10, from dawn to dusk, from west to east, and it celebrates all of our beautiful native flora that we have in Australia. I grew up in the southwest of WA, so I had these flowers at my fingertips, and it wasn't until I grew up that I realised how privileged I had been. So I'm excited to launch this book and to bring it to kids whether they live in the city or whether they live in the bush. All of my illustrations are created using screen printing, which a lot of you probably have tried at high school or at TAFE. I cut all of my stencils by hand, and I layer each colour one on top of the other until I create the final illustration. It's always a thrill at the end to lift that final screen and to see whether the illustration has turned out correctly or not. There were a couple of redos in this book. It's a beautiful process. I loved making this book, and I really hope that you enjoy reading it as much as I enjoyed making it. Thank you.
Now from pop art to neon lights. Next up is Callie Camby and her gorgeous picture book, Little Light.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to start my 2-minute Little Light book launch with a disclaimer. And that disclaimer is, if you've ever found yourself thinking, you know what, that Donald Trump guy has some really good ideas. Or you've ever thought to yourself, gee, Kim Jong-un really knows how to run a country, then this is not the book for you. Also, if you're not in the list but interested in learning new things like the word apoplectic, thank you, Kate Sutherland, this book is also not for you. However, if you're one of those who has a vision of a world where children are encouraged to grow up and into adults who celebrate each other's diversities and differences, who embrace those around them who might look a little bit different, who might grow unusual food, who might speak strange words or dance to offbeat music or read unfamiliar books, then this is the book for you and the book that you should share with all the little ones in your lives. Because it's a story of breaking down walls and building bridges, and it's a story of people from all walks of life coming together to make just one big happy place. So thank you to Fremantle Press for making this book about my little imaginary town called Little Light, and thank you to Kate Sutherland, and thank you to all of you. Little Light. Woo-hoo.
Thank you, Callie.
I've still got 30 seconds.
Elaine Forrestal's new book looks at the history of our gold rush from a different perspective. Here's the fabulous Elaine to talk about Goldfields Girl.
Hello. This is a bit different, a historical fiction about a very unusual girl. So I'm going to punctuate my speech by using the Lagerphone, which is significant to the goldfields, but I'll have to tell you about that later because I don't think I'm going to have enough time otherwise. So, Clara Saunders is 14 years old, and isn't she pleased about it? She is adventurous, she is fearless, she is capable, and she is strong. Clara was living with her family in the tiny outback town of Southern Cross in 1892. She was living there when Arthur Bailey came back in. He was a local prospector that most town people knew. He rode back into the town on the 16th of September 1892. But most of the townspeople didn't recognise him. He was exhausted. He was covered in red dirt from head to foot. His water bag hung empty. But his saddlebags were tightly packed with something very heavy. In the pub that night, the rumours were flying. But
Are you okay, hun?
Arthur Bailey...
The struggle is real.
The digital millennial has spoken.
Well, Arthur Bailey was saying nothing. He was not speaking a word. The next morning, he went to the bank in the main street of Southern Cross, and he waited until it opened. When it opened, he went inside and put 544 ounces of pure gold on the counter. A huge sum. A king's ransom. A fairy tale treasure.
Sorry, Elaine.
Oh!
You've done excellent.
I'll have to tell you more when you come and visit me down at the signing table at the back. I'll tell you all the things I can do for your book club, for your students, and for your festival and seminar participants.
Thank you, Elaine. Woo!
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are halfway through already. The night is ripping by. We are 8 down and 8 to go.
We have gone from chickens to birds to koalas to wildflowers to neon lights and to pioneers. It's a lot. It's a lot.
So now we're taking a darker turn. Our next guests are set to take you to the mega morgue, where you'll be welcomed by a hungry horde of hopping vampires. Please welcome Shirley Ma and Katie Jiang. Woo!
Hello. I've only got 1 minute because I'm staring at the stage of my wonderful illustrator Katie, so here goes. I'm going to tell you a story about how my book came to be. Okay, 10 years ago, I was a guest author at the Melbourne Writers' Festival, and there was a very popular book that was doing the rounds during that time featuring a sparkling vampire. You know the one. Anyway, I was on a panel, and it had nothing to do with vampires, sparkling or not, but I got asked by the audience, have you ever thought about writing a vampire romance? And I thought, Chinese vampires, actually quite disgusting. They're like green and they're mouldy and they're a bit like zombies, and because they're fresh out of the grave, the only way they can move is like this. So I'm thinking, well, not a very good book boyfriend. But the idea of writing a Chinese vampire stuck in my mind. And now 10 years later, Little Jiang is the result. And although it's not a romance, it's funny, hopefully, and it's an adventure, and it's a little bit quirky and weird, and I hope you all really like it. Now, let me present to you my wonderful illustrator, Katie Jiang.
Hi, I'm Katie Jiang. Little Jiang and Katie Jiang has one thing in common. And this is the same Jiang, but I'm not a vampire. And Little Jiang is far more extraordinary than me. And this is a story that blends East and West, past and present, with a fantasy twist, and it tells that courage, friendship, and helpfulness are always needed and always the same. Little Jiang comes with 12 black and white illustrations mixed with the contemporary illustration and traditional Chinese ink painting style. I hope you are drawn to its fresh, dynamic look, as well as the fun and inspiring story. So please don't hesitate to grab one afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rebecca Higgie's The History of Mischief won the inaugural Fogarty Literary Award last year for 18 to 35-year-old Western Australian writers. Here's Rebecca.
So The History of Mischief is about two girls, Jessie and Kay. Jessie is 9, Kay is 20, and they've sadly lost their parents in a car accident. They move to their grandmother's abandoned home in Guildford, which many of you would be familiar with, and there under the floorboards they find a book. And this book purports to be a transcription of an original book. This book was a 2,000-year-old tome that when you touched gave you all these magical abilities and all the memories of the people who owned it in the past. Jessie and Kay read this transcription as they're trying to get used to their new life without parents and living in Guildford. The histories they read are in Greece, Egypt, China, Poland, France, Ethiopia, England and Australia. So Jessie becomes quite obsessed with this book. She starts to research the historical figures in the book, and she also starts to conduct mischief of her own on an overly cheerful boy from school and a very eccentric elderly neighbour who vacuums her driveway at night. But the mystery of this book always lingers with Jessie. She's always wondering, where did this book come from? Why was it hidden in the floorboards? And where is the magic book? Where is the original History of Mischief? So this book is a mix of historical fiction, a magical realism, maybe a little bit of fantasy in there, and a mystery as well. It is a book about grief. It's a book about the universal experience of loss, but it's also got play, mischief, It's a celebration of libraries, and all the books that appear in the book are actually real books as well. It won the 2019 Fogarty Literary Award, and so far all the reviews have been really lovely, and they've said that it's a book that's perfect for both teens and adults alike. So I hope you all give it a chance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Next up, a disappearing corpse, an orphan, and a man with no name. Alexander Thorpe's debut cosy crime novel is Death Leaves the Station. Please welcome Alexander.
All right. Hello. I'm going to ask you to use your imagination and come with me to a different time. The world's been ravaged by a viral pandemic. Fascism creeps into the political discourse, poorly concealed as populism. The global economy moves inexorably towards recession. It's difficult, I know. But try and imagine it. I'm talking about the 20s, of course. You know, the other 20s, the bad ones. Full of fear and frustration, people search for an escape, something to distract them from the coming recession. Something mysterious yet familiar. Something that thrills the reader without exhausting them. Something that takes the domestic secrets of our day-to-day lives and brings them blinking into the light. Cosy crime. Interwar writers like Agatha Christie and Ngaio Marsh perfected escapist literature with their English country house murder mystery formula. People loved it. They still love it. I love it. So I stole it. I nicked it and messed around with it a bit, and I dumped it in rural Western Australia just to see what would happen. And what happened was this. On a warm night in 1927, somewhere between the goldfields and the wheat belt, a young woman stumbles across a body at the edge of her family's farm. By the time the police arrive to investigate, though, it's gone. There's nothing to indicate who the dead man was, how he was killed, or why his body disappeared. Mariana Harris, the sole witness, has some troubling holes in her testimony, and things get even more complicated when a stranger shows up at the station, dressed as a monk and claiming to have no name. The search for answers moves to the coast near Geraldton, and then down to that wretched, filthy port city of Fremantle. When the truth does finally come out, it leaves Mariana wondering if her life will ever be the same again. The essence of the book, of course, is the mystery, the puzzle, but it's also about growing up, about finding yourself and navigating a world that turns out to be a lot larger than you thought. I had a lot of fun writing it, and I think you'll have fun reading it. So if you like crime, give it a go. And if you don't, who knows? This could be your gateway drug to a world of mysteries and machinations and moustaches. It might even help you in some small way to get through the 20s.
Stella Budrikis has written an important book about a little-known part of Western Australia's history. The murder trial of Alice Mitchell changed the way WA thought about unmarried women and led to changes in our legislation as well. Stella is here to talk about her book, The Edward Street Baby Farm.
Let me tell you a story. It's a true story. On the 4th of January 1907, a 19-year-old Elizabeth Booth left the House of Mercy in Lincoln Street and walked to a house in Edward Street in East Perth. There she left her 3-month-old baby, Ethel, with a woman named Alice Mitchell. Alice was licensed to take in babies for single mothers. Elizabeth was reluctant to leave Ethel, but she had no choice. She needed to go back to work in order to support herself. She had no one else to turn to. So she agreed to pay Alice 10 shillings a week for Ethel's care, plus an extra 5 shillings if a doctor was required. This was out of her income of 15 shillings a week. Over the next few weeks, Elizabeth visited Ethel as often as she could, but she began to be concerned about Ethel's welfare. The child was becoming very thin and lethargic. Alice Mitchell assured her that the doctor had seen the baby several times and he was quite happy with her progress. And then Alice began refusing to let Elizabeth see the baby and was making excuses and brushing her off. On the 11th of February, after the police had tipped her off that they were interested in Alice Mitchell, Elizabeth removed Ethel from Alice's care and took her to the hospital and the following day she died. The police arrested Alice Mitchell, and after an inquest, she was sent to trial for murder in the Supreme Court. The case shocked Perth citizens, but they were even more horrified to learn that Alice Mitchell had had 43 children in her care in the previous 6 years, and of those, 37 had died. How could this have happened? Why did Dr. Officer, the doctor who signed all the death certificates, or most of the death certificates, fail to notify anybody about the extraordinary death rate? What should become of Miss Lenihan, the health inspector who was supposed to be monitoring Alice Mitchell? She not notified anybody either. And what could be done to prevent such a thing from ever happening again? You'll have to read the book.
Thank you. Westerly magazine says Bron Bateman's powerful book of poetry pushes boundaries and tackles taboos. Please welcome Bron to talk about Of Memory and Furniture.
My collection is erotic poetry with all the stops pulled out. Poems about grief and despair and redemption and healing. Poems about children and family, about joy and love and lesbian passion. Advice on how to get your bondage gear from Bunnings. A deeply feminist project without the feminist polemic. Poetry that is both tender and excoriating. Poetry that asks and answers some of the deep questions we ask ourselves in the long dark of the night. These poems are pressed from intimate, usually erotic moments in my life and offer a limpid evocation of sexuality, motherhood, childbirth, love, and, with a sharp pivot at the end, harrowing abuse. The simplicity of these poems is crafted carefully. They are also raw with desire. The undertones of écriture féminine, Helene Sissou's coinage, meaning a literature of the female body, gives these poems a cultural anchor, but their power and emotional depth come from their ability to move through traumatic events with directness. The poems at the end of the collection are the rawest and, I think, the most confident in the collection. Erotic, feminist and sensitive, these are poems which I want, and I hope you will, want to read. Brave and open-hearted, tense and sensuous, this is Of Memory and Furniture. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now, for a 1970s world cruise with John Doust. His new novel, Return Ticket, takes us from the apple orchard to the kitchen sink and from the southwest of WA to a kibbutz in Israel. John Doust, we are timing you. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Katie Lefroy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Aren't we blessed to be in this place, this biodiverse wonderland, are we not? Thank you, Nunga Budja. Thank you, Yagan. Thank you, Mokare. Thank you, Manyat Batyat. Thank you, Kolban. Thank you. I'm sorry we didn't accord it the respect that it's due, and you, but thank you. Now, this book here, it's in my pocket. I'll show it to you in a minute. This book is called Return Ticket. If you buy it, you can always get back to where you came from. You see how you... Anyway, it's the end. It's the final in the trilogy, One Boy's Journey to Man. Buonawire, To the Highlands, Return Ticket. There's only 3 books in a trilogy. I don't know if you knew that. And so this is the last. This is the end of it. Jack Muir, he leaves the comfort of his hometown and he goes to South Africa and he stops. He ends apartheid. He goes to Israel. He stops a war. He moves on. He comes back to this place, to Nunga Budja. It moves back and forth between here and Israel and Iran. He spends most of his time in Israel on the kibbutz. He's in Iran. He's in Nunga Budja. He's in Wajjuk Budja. He's in Jugalap. He's in Kinkanap, Kinjaling. It's an incredible book. I'm going to buy myself a copy because I've heard so much about it. And look, no, Really, honestly, you should be buying all the books that have been talked about here tonight. There's some incredible young writers out there. Some of these people are much younger than me. I don't know if that shows. But while I'm here, I must thank Georgia Richter. Georgia Richter is, and everybody at Fremantle Press, but in particular Georgia Richter. I have asked her to move in and live with me, with her entire family, and she's refused. I don't think I'll ever write again. Are there any questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, John. Now, staying with the nautical theme, but moving from the 1970s to the late 1980s, crime writer David Whish-Wilson takes us into the underbelly of life on board a US naval vessel. Welcome, David.
Thank you. And hello, everybody. As a novelist, I hope you'd appreciate that it's probably easy for me to speak for an hour than for 2 minutes, but be that as it may, I'm here to talk about Shore Leave. It's the fourth crime novel featuring my protagonist, Frank Swan. Starting in 1975, the novels are crime fiction entertainments, but they also, I hope, track some of the untold stories around the Perth underworld, that strange mix of politics, organised crime and policing practices through the 70s and 80s. The last one was set in 1985, I think, Old Scores, during the WA Inc. period, which you can imagine is a very rich vein of material for a crime writer. This one is set in Perth in 1989. It again, like all of my other crime novels, is a braided narrative. It features three main stories, three characters who start off not really knowing much about each other or not even knowing each other, and they slowly come together as the novel moves towards its conclusion. So I've got a young USS shit kicker, I suppose he is, on an aircraft carrier. His plan is to smuggle some weapons off the aircraft carrier and sell them in Perth. The other character is a man with only a few months to live. He's served 19 years at Fremantle Prison, and for some reason he's escaped. He has something he wants to accomplish before he dies, which we find out, of course, as the novel goes on. And the third character is my favourite, Frank Swan. Frank is a bit sick. He's not very well. He doesn't really know what's wrong with him. He's trying to live a quiet life. He does the odd jobs for a brothel madam round the corner. He just wants to hang out with his wife and three daughters. When the USS Carl Vinson, an American aircraft carrier, rocks into port, an old friend of his, the shore patrol officer, drops by, asks him to take on what he thinks is going to be a simple job, tracking down an AWOL sailor, which is something Frank has done before. But of course, this is crime fiction. What looks like a simple story at the start becomes increasingly complicated. I think I'll get off. Thank you.
Julie Sprigg was shortlisted for the 2018 City of Fremantle Hungerford Award for her wonderful memoir, Small Steps, A Physio in Ethiopia.
Hi, I'm Julie Sprigg, and my travel memoir, Small Steps, will take you places I reckon you never dreamt of going. Or maybe you did dream of going and COVID-19 popped those dreams on hold. Whichever the case, cast your minds back to when international travel was a thing. Now, stow your emotional baggage in the overhead locker, fasten your seatbelt, because we are going to Ethiopia. Now, this isn't your average sightseeing tour. Although it is rich with scenery, new cultures and fabulous characters, we'll also go into physio clinics, university classrooms and a convent. This is my story as a physio when I unsuccessfully lived with Ethiopian nuns and I taught in the country's first physiotherapy degree. Now, this book has got kids, very cute kids that are up against unbelievable odds, learning to walk again. Can't imagine reading a book about physio sessions for kids. Well, imagine funny, shocking, brilliant, persistent, cheeky kids in a clinic that's like nothing you've seen before. It's a challenge, but it's rich, it's crazy and it's rewarding. Small Steps is also about disparity in a world that isn't fair and about a naive do-gooder who learned the very painful lesson that there are no simple solutions to complex problems. But it is also ultimately a story of hope and joy, of friendship and of love. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll feel frustrated, and then you'll cheer. And by the end of Small Steps, your mouth will water for spicy Ethiopian stew, you'll be practicing Ethiopian phrases, and you'll feel sad to wave goodbye at the departure gate. Small Steps, a physio in Ethiopia, is ready for takeoff in all good bookshops near you. Don't leave home without it. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, but certainly not least, we have Yuot A. Alaak, another 2018 Hungerford Award shortlistee. Yuot is here to talk about his compelling and moving new memoir, Father of the Lost Boys.
Thank you so much. I usually need more than 2 minutes, but I can make it work. The Second Sudanese Civil War was the longest war in Africa, and it killed millions. And during the war, 20,000 young boys between the ages of 8 and 12 found themselves in a refugee camp in a land far from their own, ripped away from their families, their mothers and their fathers. They were poised to become child soldiers, but one man thought otherwise. In a land awash with guns, in a land of death and suffering, one man believed that the pen was mightier than the gun, and he risked his life to ensure that these 20,000 young boys did not become child soldiers and die in conflict, but that they could get a chance to have an education. So with them, he marched for hundreds of kilometers from Ethiopia to Sudan and back on to Kenya. Along the way, he lost hundreds of boys. Some died in aerial bombardments. Some stepped on landmines. Others were killed in ambushes. Some were eaten by lions and hyenas. But most of them made them to the safety of a camp in Kenya called the Kakuma refugee camp. The story of the Lost Boys is well known worldwide. You've seen it on the Oprah show, the CNN and the BBC. But that man is my father, and he's here tonight. And I was one of those lost boys. So, thank you so much. Come, I trained as a child soldier, but feel safe tonight. Come, I'll sign your book. I've left my AK-47 in the car. Thank you.
Well done, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so please thank me in joining these authors for introducing you to their wonderful new releases tonight. All of these books are available at Found at the back there, and you can see all of our authors already sitting down ready to sign your books. Now would be the perfect time to get that because we're going to take a quick break. So grab a drink, stalk an author for their autograph, and don't forget to post on the socials.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from your incredibly too short break. We are thrilled and excited to enter the second half of tonight, which is, of course, the City of Fremantle Hungerford Award Ceremony. Woo! It's so exciting backstage.
It's the tension are running high. They're running really high. So we have 3 Western Australian writers shortlisted for the 2020 City of Fremantle Hungerford Award, which is now in its 30th year. It's about as old as we are, right? Thank you for laughing at that, someone. Our shortlistees, Sharon Booth. Do you want to wave? Wave as I say your name. Woo! Sharon Booth, everyone. Joanna Morrison. Yay! And Maria Pappas, whose name I pronounced wrong before, I'm so sorry, are in the running for $15,000 in cash money from the City of Fremantle and a publishing contract from Fremantle Press. Not to mention fame, glory, fortune, and maybe even a chance to MC an awards ceremony one day. You've got to aim big, ladies.
So to host this ceremony, we welcome to the stage Fremantle Press publisher extraordinaire, the super talented Georgia Richter, everybody.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you, Georgia.
Good evening, Fremantle Press family, distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. I only just got nervous then, and it was all the vibes that were coming off these three magnificent writers behind me. It was an empath moment, and I always say to Claire, do we have to do it like this? And she always says, yes, we do. So nobody knows except I know that they are three wonderful, wonderful books. Now, Minister McGurk has already told you a bit about the history of the Hungerford Award, and I'd like to share with you something of the man for whom the award is named. Thomas Arthur Guy Hungerford was a quintessential Western Australian writer and identity. He received an AO for services to Australian literature in 1987, the Patrick White Award in 2002, and in 2004 was named a State Living Treasure. His first collection of short stories was published in 1976 by Fremantle Press, and many bookshelves in this state contain a copy of his Stories from Suburban Road, Knockabout with a Slouch Hat, and Red Rover All Over. In 1980, Tom Hungerford was delighted to have this award named after him, and he was always a great supporter of new and emerging writers. Now, an anonymous award like this one relies on administration by a third party, and we're grateful once again to Steve McQuaid and the Fremantle Library team for their administrative support in receiving the manuscripts and sending them on to judges. This year... I know you're thinking, should we clap administration? But you really should. It's a very important role. Another important role were this year's judges for the City of Fremantle Hungerford Award, Sasonke Msamang, Richard Rossiter, and the inaugural Hungerford winner, Brenda Walker. We were particularly honoured to be able to include Brenda as part of this expert triumvirate. I'm sure her own writing career serves as an inspiration to the three writers on my left. This year, the award included 38 fiction entries, 16 young adult novels, 8 narrative non-fiction manuscripts, and 4 short story collections. In a moment, I'll invite Sasonke, Richard and Brenda to the stage to receive a gift in appreciation of all their work. It takes great effort and dedication to read and discuss 66 book-length manuscripts, which is many more novels than most of us read in a year. And believe me, they did not have a year. Each of these 66 entries were assessed and discussed by Sasonke, Richard and Brenda, who presented a list of manuscripts for me to come up with a shortlist. These three judges are discerning readers with a huge depth of combined experience as writers, mentors, editors and teachers, and I am immensely grateful for their input. Please join me in thanking them. Step into the spotlight, please. Thank you, judges. Since I began judging the award in 2008, the standard of work submitted has been consistently high, which says something for the quality of writing being done in this state. And I congratulate each writer who completed and submitted a manuscript this year. When I read, I'm looking for manuscripts with a confident narrative delivery and a distinctive, compelling voice. I'm looking for the kind of work that remains with the reader long after the reading is done. For me, the shortlisted works stood out because they were full of potential. They exhibited strong ideas, memorable lines, characters and scenes, and it felt as if each was written with the reader firmly in mind. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about the 3 shortlisted manuscripts. First, I'd like to invite Maria Pappas to the front of the stage to accept her certificate. Maria's novel, I Belong to the Lake, is a delicate and nuanced story about 2 different families, each containing a child with leukaemia. The novel's told from the perspective of the adult Grace, who runs into Nate, who she hasn't seen since they were both teenagers hovering on the periphery of their sibling's illness. It's a story of love, infidelity and gentle reckoning set around Lake Clifton, South Amandra, where the lake itself is a site of meaning, restoration and a reminder of the cycle of life. And it's a story whose own seasons are cut through with the rituals of life in a Greek-Australian family. Congratulations, Maria. Please welcome Joanna Morrison to the front of the stage. Joanna's written an offbeat crime novel, Still Dark. This novel begins with a corpse on a boat on the river. The question of who killed Sam propels the story forward. Still Dark explores the friendship between 4 students who met at university 2 decades ago. One of them dies and the other 3 drift apart. This novel is about what happens when the 3 reunite in the present. The role of the narrator is just one of the clever and surprising elements of a crime novel in which the plot is tight and the setting and characters vivid and well drawn. Congratulations, Joanna. Please welcome our 3rd shortlisted author, Sharon Booth. Sharon's historical fiction, The Silence of Water, is based on the life of Edwin Salt, who's transported to Fremantle in 1862 for the murder of his first wife, Mary Ann Hall. This work is based on actual historical figures, and its depth of research has created a vivid and visceral read as it charts the wounds, healing and slow resolution that can occur down generations. The work shines a particular light on the first generations born of convicts here in Western Australia. This sad and hopeful tale is an exploration of exile, reconciliation and belonging. Congratulations, Sharon. And thank you, Councillor Hannah Fitzharding and Jane Fraser, for helping ease the shortlisters through this penultimate moment of tension. Now, I would like to invite His Worship the Mayor of Fremantle, Brad Pettitt, to announce the winner of the 2020 City of Fremantle Hungerford Award.
Wow, thank you. This is one of those very exciting moments, and can I say congratulations to each of you on the amazing contribution that you've already made to get to this point. Before I do have this great pleasure of announcing the winner, I just want to make a few brief words. I want to start by acknowledging that we're on Whadjuk Noongar land and pay my respects to the Whadjuk Noongar people. I also want to acknowledge the many special guests we have here this evening, including Jane and all the amazing people at Fremantle Press and Georgia, of course, who have who brought us together. I think they deserve a special round of applause. This is a really special event and amazing group of people. The award judges, who I know would have had a pretty tough time choosing between our 3 shortlisted authors tonight. So I want to thank them for taking on that hard role. I'm glad that I didn't have to do that, because that would have been absolutely challenging. So yeah, thanks to those to the judges. City of Freo has, as I hope you know, been a supporter of the arts in all its forms, be it the visual arts or music or literature for a long time. And I'm really proud, especially proud actually, that we have been supporting the Hungerford Award, which is now in its 30th year and is firmly established as one of WA's premier literature awards. Tonight's winner, as you no doubt know, will receive $15,000 in prize money and a publishing contract with Fremantle Press. But perhaps more importantly, the award will shine a light on their book and hopefully be a launch pad to bigger and better things. It's been pretty exciting, I think you'll agree, for those of you who were here last year and seeing what was happened. Of course, last year's Hungerford Award winner, Holden Shepherd, and his book, Invisible Boys, it's an amazing book, and it's gone on to collect a range of awards and accolades, even a film and TV deal. So this award is amazing. I think it really can be that real launch pad, and I want to say to each of you, whether you're a winner or not, you can see how these things can go on tonight. But of course, there can be only one winner. So it does give me great pleasure to announce the winner of the City of Fremantle Hungerford Award for 2020. The winner is Maria Pappas for the novel I Belong to the Lake.
My parents would tell you that I did not expect this, and I'm a little, thank you. Take my glasses off. Truly, it is such an honour to be shortlisted and to have won the Hungerford Award. It means quite a lot to me, and I have actually been shortlisted before, so I do know the power that being shortlisted does. For me, it incited me to go do my PhD and to try again. Hopefully, because I feel so honoured to be sharing the stage with Sharon and with Joanna, because I've listened to their podcasts, I'm hoping to share the stage with both of you again one day soon, with all of our writing published. I guess when you sit down to write, you write with the hope that someone will one day find joy and meaning in the work that you do. And I guess this is lovely, validating for me, especially having been through it once before. For this, I want to thank the award sponsors, the City of Fremantle. I can't believe this is happening to me. I want to thank the award sponsors, City of Fremantle, Fremantle Arts Centre, the Department of Local Government, Sport and Cultural Industries, Fremantle Press, for supporting literature and creativity and for creating this opportunity for someone who loves to write the way I like to write. Alongside the sponsors, I really do want to thank the judges, because I can't imagine how much it would have taken to read 66 manuscripts, and I'm just glad that you did, because it helps all of us to have awards like this. Thank you also to Fremantle Press publishers, to Claire Miller for keeping us organised and calm over the last few months since the shortlisting was announced, elected members of Fremantle City Council. And on a more personal note, I wish to give my most heartfelt appreciation to my teachers, Brenda Walker especially. I feel really honoured to be winning the award on the 30th anniversary when one of my most important teachers was the inaugural winner. And I'd also like to thank, alongside Brenda, Julianne Van Loon and Anne Maguire, who taught me writing early on. Thank you to my writers group, Maureen Gibbons, who's in here somewhere, Bindi Pritchard and Dee Faff. I appreciate our catch-ups. We caught up yesterday. I appreciated that so much. The way we help each other, and you guys are such an important part of my writing process. And last but not least, I want to thank, and I hope I can do this without crying, I want to thank my mum, my dad, Pam, Nicole, Luca and Dahlia for all your love and your support and kindness and patience with me. I'm lucky to have you. Thank you.
So there we have it. Huge congratulations, Maria Papaz, for being the winner of this year's 2020 Hungerford Award. That's a massive achievement. And to the whole shortlist, once you are shortlisted for something like this, you know that your writing career is on its way. You know you have what it takes, and all you need to do is just keep trying. It is wonderful that we have this kind of culture here in Western Australia, in Perth, celebrating local stories. It's such an asset to our town to have publishers like Fremantle Press, to have the City of Fremantle's support, to have things like the Literature Centre, to have you here tonight. This is the strength that we have in Fremantle and in Perth and in Western Australia. So a huge thank you for coming tonight and for making this celebration of literature what it is, and for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So, thank you to our sponsors, our host, the Fremantle Arts Centre, to the City of Fremantle, our sponsors, the Department of Local Government, Sports and Cultural Industries, and to all of the authors here tonight. And as Cristy said, thank you to all of you for coming. It's because of readers like you supporting local literature that these authors and these illustrators can succeed and this awards can happen. So go buy more books, have another drink, stalk some more authors, and we will see you at our next event. Good evening.